There we go. You hit buttons. I'm still learning. I admit it. I'm still learning the process, and it's a Labor Day, so we're laboring. So bases dropped on another edition of Soccer Down Here. Figured we'd do a power hour this morning. With it being a holiday, first and foremost, hopefully everyone is as safe and dry as possible. Obviously, thoughts and best vibes to everyone in West Georgia and Northwest Georgia with our office here in the Atlanta area. I know that we have some listeners up in Northwest Georgia, some watchers up in Northwest Georgia. So, Mayor, hopefully everyone up in your part of the state is okay, and everybody here on the Eastern Seaboard that got a bit of a rude awakening in the overnight. So just hope that everybody's okay here to start things off on a Monday. Obviously, we'll go over your thoughts when it comes to Atlanta and Portland and anything else on your mind in Major League Soccer, the world of soccer. We can get into stuff overseas if you like, kind of get into the Premier League as we wind things down this morning and get everybody up and at 'em for the one match in the midweek and going after it again on the weekend, where it has turned into probably an elimination game involving Atlanta and Toronto this weekend at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So if there is a loser, then that loser is probably out of the playoff picture. But that's where we are right now. I guess we'll start things off with the opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And for those watching on Twitch, as always, I'm turning the QR code toward the screen. Hopefully your QR codes can work, but let me know if I need to take the QR code and just kind of shove it right in the screen so you folks can hit the QR code for our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Also follow Kickoff Coffee on the Twitters, on the Facebook, and on the Instagram. Reminder, and thanks to everybody who has so far decided to sample and or continue to have Kickoff Coffee. The boss likes the darker blends. But 15% off by using the code SoccerDownHere15. And in turn, they will take 10% and they will reinvest it in youth initiatives in the youth game, something very, very cool that our friends at Kickoff Coffee are doing, especially with our friends at American Football Provisions, American FUT-BOL Provisions. If you ever see them at any of our events or if you see them out in the community, they also have Kickoff Coffee on hand for purchase as well. So once again, thanks to our friends at Kickoff Coffee, American Football Provisions. We'll talk about our friends over my left shoulder here in just a little bit. Opening kickoff, I want to talk about the twos and what we saw this past weekend with Jarrett and myself calling the action in Kennesaw. And Atlanta United, the twos won for the first time since June 29th. And they've been fighting all season long. They get their fifth win of the year. And Jackson Conway got a brace, got goals 9 and 10 on the season. And I think, programming note, if you missed it, Twos Review is up on the network where Jarrett and I talk about the game. You hear the highlights with some familiar voices. We caught up with Jackson Conway, Vicente Reyes, and head coach Jack Collison. But to see no quit in these guys, period. We've seen it all season long. They haven't quit. And they haven't they didn't pack it in any of these games. They kept grinding and trying. And you had a game where you got a lead, and then 4 minutes later, Tulsa, because once again they are a group of veterans, they get the equalizer, and then Atlanta United 2 kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and the two substitutes for Jack Collison, Jonathan Vial, and Luke Brennan were part and parcel to getting the eventual game-winning goal. They're very, very late, about a minute and a half to go in normal time before any kind of time was added. But you cannot discount what Vicente Reyes did and worked his way. It got a couple of big saves down the line as well, and we talked to him about that on Twos Review as well. So tip of the hat to the Twos, and they have to do a quick turnaround as they now have 5 wins on the season. They're going to be playing in the midweek, and then it's Memphis 901 that comes to town. And Memphis 901, and this is what Atlanta United 2 is going to be doing in both the East and the West with their schedule the rest of the way. They get to be the folks that are going to be the spoilers And in a USL Championship, right now, the way things are, with one match tonight, it's a USL Championship after dark with Los Dos and Hartford Athletic. Tab Ramos, getting closer and closer to being on the touchline, started his job with Hartford Athletic a couple days ago, officially official. And so he still has a couple of matches before he takes the touchline. But standings right now, where Memphis 901 are. Memphis 901 are in that group from 2 to 5. And Tampa Bay's at 54 points. Memphis is at 52. Birmingham and Pittsburgh are at 51. So any slip up by any of those teams really could jumble the picture in the Eastern Conference. But no, just wanted to give a shout out to the Twos this morning as they got a big win on the weekend against FC Tulsa, who is kind of the leading team in that second group. They needed a win to get closer to Detroit City and the Miami FC at 6 and 7 if they were going to have any kind of chance to chase into the playoffs. With 6 matches to go, and it looks like they're 8 points back with 6 to go. So Atlanta United 2 spoiled FC Tulsa's road trip and any chance they had in the East to try to chase after the 6 and the 7 spots. So just wanted to give a shout out to the Twos this morning. And that is our opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. KickoffCoffeeCO.com. Once again, follow them at Kickoff Coffee CO on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Use the code SoccerDownHere15 for 15% off of your purchase. And if when you do that, then Kickoff Coffee takes 10% of the proceeds, rolls them into youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff. KickoffCoffeeCO.com. And I will turn the QR code one more time, and hopefully that works. If it doesn't, then let me know. And like I said, I will put it as close to the screen as possible to help you out when it comes to Kickoff Coffee. So, all right. And what I also wanted to do was let you guys have the floor, and that's what we do on Mondays. We let you have reactions. I know we have the reactions for the match in Portland. Want to kind of get some of those in the queue this morning before we started to talk about them. And I will give you my thoughts. And as always, that's the beauty of this conversation with the Twitch pitch, is that you guys, we try to have an honest back and forth. It's an honest discourse, and that's what I've always appreciated and liked about you guys. And the way that we do things here is that we try to have an honest conversation about how we're feeling about things. So what I will do is I will go through what you guys have put in the queue, and then we'll start the back and forth. And like I said, I figured we'd do a power hour this morning and let you guys get back to not laboring on Labor Day. So here we go. Let's see. Let me go to the actual Twitter account. And, if you guys want to talk about anything else, the return of MJF last night at All Out, you've got the craziness when it comes to what happened with my alma mater last night and Jarrett's team that he follows in college football. So pretty much it's a reaction Monday. Anything's on the table. And that's what we are here for. So on the Twitch pitch, Emilio winds up with, it's a GIF, I think, right? It's a GIF, not a GIF. It's a GIF. No one to complain about, but a very lackluster performance in a very important game in this regard. Very different than we normally see, even though the result is the same. Can't and won't pump Sunshine. Sunshine pump this. Shiva, not a good performance for a team that believes and wants to make playoffs. Very disappointed in them. Hope we get that fire and excitement back next year. Chris Hutchison, team needs a rest and a reset. Speaking of resets, any news on a replacement for Darren Eales? So going through what you guys have put on the Twitters before I head over to the Twitch pitch. Working backwards, Chris Hutchison, no word on a replacement for Darren Eales yet. And I wouldn't necessarily anticipate it, because when it comes to any kind of chase, whether it's for a player, front office personnel, what have you, anything associated with the franchise, traditionally, it has been about as tight-lipped as it gets. And this is nothing new. And as you are looking for a hire of this import, folks are still employed with their teams that you might be looking for. And, they still might be doing work. And so they may not want to have any kind of a discussion in earnest until their season, whomever the there is done. And remember, this is, it's an international search, and they're going to be looking far and wide. And that's the difficulty of doing things in in a World Cup year with the calendars that are different. So it's going to be a search that's going to be done behind closed doors. And no, we don't have any updates on it yet. And don't anticipate any kind of an update until we're really toward the final stages, whenever that is. And that's, pretty much where it is. So, keep your ears peeled for it, but don't expect any kind of honest, just no legit info until they're so late in the process that you might have a list of finalists or something like that. And that might get put out into the ether. But other than that, not really a whole lot of news, and don't anticipate it. Shiva, not a good performance from a team that believes and wants to make the playoffs. Very disappointed. They're equally as disappointed in themselves. And the fire and excitement, I don't think has been lost. That's one of the things that I would address here. When you're down 1-0, traditionally a team at home with a lead is going to pack it in, and it's going to be incumbent upon the team that is trailing to try to figure out ways to break that wall down. And it was very, very difficult. You have to tip your hat to Portland's defense, especially Claudio Bravo, in making it very difficult for Atlanta to get anything accomplished down the middle of the pitch. After the first goal, so let me check and see. And this, I have my handy dandy notes, and so if I can read my notes, then I can kind of come up with a notion here. Early on, you had some back and forth. First 10 minutes were Portland's, then it was Atlanta's. You had very, very quick passing in the ones and twos, with Thiago Almada being the catalyst for that. The short passing once again in the 20s, and then you had the Moreno PK at 36. Then you had the one real opportunity in the first half after that, with Luis Araujo a couple of minutes later after the PK was scored. And that was it for the first 45, at least from my perspective. Then you had the switch at half. You had Sejdic coming in for a bar because you wanted to go more offensively. Then you had Portland for the first 10 minutes. They looked like they had, the predominance of possession. Then you had once again Almada and Wiley, but that's to the outside. Then you had activity there in the mid 50s. You had the fifth corner in the late 50s with Gutman and Wiley combining, and that was the part that I looked at with Atlanta United, is that they were getting most of their opportunities off of corners because of pressure. Nothing through, not as much through open run of play. Joseph came in the 60s along with Mosquera for Cisneros and Wiley, once again making offensive moves there. And Cisneros had a difficult day. Let me get Ronaldo's numbers up really quickly, courtesy of our friends at SofaScore. If I could actually type, and then we could come up with the numbers here when it came to touches and things like that. And that was something that I wanted to look at specifically for Ronaldo Cisneros up top, because it was being made very, very difficult for him to work up top. Once again, you tip your hat to the defense of Portland in that case. And let's see, there it is. Okay, so now, once again, nothing like chasing after something live. Lineups. So for Atlanta United, Ronaldo Cisneros on the day, 63 minutes, only had 13 touches. And if you're running point, then you got to have a lot more than 13 touches. He was 9 of 10 on passes, but 13 touches for Ronaldo Cisneros in 63 minutes. He had the one shot off target, 0 for 5 on his duels in the overall. So it was a lot of attention was paid to Ronaldo Cisneros by the defense of Portland, and it showed in those numbers. Then you had a couple of chances in the 70s with Mosquera and Almada in that one possession with Mosquera, Almada, and then Lennon on the second chance through. Then you had something in transition, and Santi Sosa hit it over the bar. So it came at it in waves with Atlanta United, and they just were not able to get it done the way that they were looking at. And, when you get one goal, like I said, when you get one goal, the defense is going to pack it in. That's what they're going to do, and it's incumbent upon you to try to work your way around what was going on. So that, and I will go ahead and say that I thought the second PK was soft. And I'm not going to focus on officiating as much as we do in particular instances, but I will say this. I thought that John Freeman wanted to be the center, literally. He wanted to make sure that folks knew he was there. And there were calls that, that I had questions about. I thought the second PK was soft. I thought there was very little contact whatsoever. And then, once again, you get a second PK in, and I think that's 12 PKs for Portland this year when it comes to what they've been able to score. But yeah, I thought the second PK was soft, and I thought that there were instances where fouls that were called. I had no earthly idea what John Freeman and the crew were looking at, but that's just me. Once again, out the door, and it ended up being a 2-0 loss, and that's where we are right now. With Atlanta United, you had moments in the 80s, well defended by Purata. The game was being stretched in transition there, and you had the Sosa late shot, and then you had the Joseph goal, and then once again pressing. But once again, you sit there and you're looking at that second PK call, which should not have happened. It would have been 1-0, and Atlanta's continuing to press with their substitutes and things like that. So, once again, you sit there and you're looking at external factors, but at the end of the day, let's look at where things stand. And as you look at MLS in the standings in the East, Atlanta United right now is 5 points out of a playoff spot with 5 to play. And this will be the other element in all of this that I would like to request and have it be kind of like the driving force this week. Brooks Lennon said, "Don't give up on us. We're not giving up on ourselves." That's one of the quotes that stuck with me post-match. I would like for the 17s to be as loud as humanly possible going up against the Toronto team that's right there with them. And if Atlanta United wins, it's their 9th win. That puts them at the same number of wins as Toronto. Toronto has only 4 matches left to play, so they're going to be standing on the sidelines a little bit. But my gut tells me that this is an elimination game. And you've got to get full points in this one. And at the end of the Toronto match last night, Lorenzo Insigne was grabbing his hamstring in the Canadian Classique against Montreal. And his health is going to be monitored this week to see what's going on with him and if he will be even able to be a part and parcel of what Toronto wants to do this weekend. And that's going to be a big part of their offense that, may not be at 100%, may not be involved at all. Obviously, we'll keep an eye as things continue to push for the remainder of the week. But my request to you 17s this week is this. With 5 matches to go, you're 5 points out. You get a win, you're at 36 points. And you're that much closer to closing margins. And I know that after that, it's a game with Philadelphia. Then you got a game with Orlando. Then you have the international break. Then you're at New England, which is a winnable game. Then you're with NYC here on decision day, which is a winnable game, considering that NYC has lost 4 of 5, and they are not the same team that they have been since Ronnie Dyla and Tati Castellanos left. So a step at a time. And this was a conversation that I admit that I had with folks on Twitter. It's like, take it a game at a time. Don't focus on what hasn't happened yet because it hasn't happened yet. I know that from the Department of Redundancy department, that may seem a little bit out there. But you still have a team that's in a playoff chase. They have not been eliminated from said playoff chase. So support them until that, that marker, whenever it is done, is done. I think I said that 3 times. But whenever the end game happens, whenever the end of whatever finally shows up, support this club as much as they are putting their heart and soul out there for you every single time. Know the results aren't what they want. And obviously we know it's not the results that fans and supporters want here. But when Toronto comes to town this weekend, it's a must-win game to continue to push toward that playoff bar. Be there for them as much as they're trying to get results for you. That's my request going forward for the remainder of this season and however many, matches that takes. So for the remaining 5, and, if they get in as the 7 in the playoffs, be there for them for that. Being a supporter, being a fan, those kinds of things. Be there 100% for them. Be as loud as possible on Saturday because they're going to need it. They're going to need to know that you're there with them so you can be that force that pushes them through in this must-win game against Toronto. So that's my request, is be there for them for the remainder of this season in whatever form that takes. Let's get into the Twitch pitch. So let's see what you guys have to say on the Twitch pitch this morning before we go over results and other stuff. I will go to the top of the order, and let's see. Niall and his college. I guess Niall, are you in your dorm? I guess watching from the dorm this morning as he is back along the collegiate halls of wisdom. Hard loss to swallow, especially off 2 penalties. Yeah, because it was fairly even play with the 2 clubs up and down. Once again, you had swings both ways, but yeah, especially off the 2 penalties. And like I said, the second one to me, that was soft. It was a soft call, and I didn't see a whole lot on it. First one, yes. Second one, no. But once again, you make that second call, you're making it that much more difficult for Atlanta to work their way back into a match where they were having chances off of set pieces, and if you're only a goal down, so that's where we are with my rant with officiating. Niall doesn't see us making the playoffs at this stage, unfortunately. Bam, I know we got to talk about LAFC. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. Had a great weekend of AFL games. As our resident AFL and Ukrainian Premier League correspondent, let us know what's going on. Shiva, no worries about having a show this morning. It's I know it's a holiday day, but it's a Monday, and so it's time to it's time to react. And it always makes sense to have shows to me after game weekends. And I know that I know it's holidays, and I know it's sometimes it's holidays, sometimes it's midweek. I know that like in Thanksgiving and Christmas, I know that definitely the schedule will be a little different because of football championships and things like that in December. But no, that's who we are. It's what we've always been, and wanted to continue to be here to discuss things with you guys and have honest and earnest conversations all the way through. No worries. Morning, D. Graham. Let's see, Amelia, it might take me another couple of months, right? Bam has posted a link to Atlanta's elimination options. So it's at playoffstatus.com. So click on the link, and that way you can get all your permutations and combinations and figure out who's in, who's out, and what they need and all that kind of stuff. But game at a time. D. Graham, for you, Godinho looked decent yesterday. Yeah, and there's a lot of match rust that was attached to it. Obviously, when you're in a match early, you want to get reps. You want to make sure that you're getting active, for lack of a better word. And that means touches. It means, working with your distribution and, becoming aggressive, and the personality that you have between the sticks. It does take a little while for the engine to get warm. Once you turn the engine over, obviously it's going to take a little while for the engine to get warm in that case. But yeah, I thought Godinho was solid yesterday. He guessed right on the Moreno PK, and then the second one, once again, you're looking at, you're just looking at best guesses in that opportunity. So, but no, Godinho out of the blocks, that was the one big change in the lineup. And so I think it's something that can be built on if you're looking to keep Godinho between the sticks. But, remember that, he hadn't, I think his last competitive match was in May. And so, that's the kind of rust you're looking at for, Raul Godinho here. But no, I thought that he held himself pretty well. And, remember that once again, because his characteristics are different than Rocco Rios Novo's when it comes to distribution, sweeper, keeper, and all that kind of stuff. He's going to be staying at home, and he's not going to be distributing with his feet. It's going to be, long kicks and baseball throws and things like that. It's going to be just a different vibe between the sticks right now with the Godinho there. VM starting to think the problem is Pineda. I know that you are not the only one that feels that way, but obviously I will disagree with you in that regard. just Gonzalo Pineda isn't out there, trying to get around a packed-in defense. He's not out there physically playing yet, and I know that he's the one that comes up with game plans and things like that. But you also want to have those players out there with the game plan that you have going in. Tactics change in a match, but when you have basically a line of 5 and you have 3 more, if not 4 more, packing it in with a 1-goal lead, then if not a 2-goal lead, the staff is doing as best they can with trying to get players active and get them engaged. And we went through kind of the flow chart of the activity. And there have been times this season where it's just being clinical and finishing your chances. And so, Gonzalo Pineda is not out there being clinical and trying to finish a chance. So I would disagree with you, VM, but I know that there are others out there that agree with you. Bam, can we ask what the blank was that penalty kick in the Carson game? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. All right, here's a question to the floor. Question to the floor this morning. If you were in that situation and you had, with the playoffs on the line, would you go Panenka? I'll wait. Let a couple of you type just to give me your answers. Playoffs are on the line. You're right there around the playoff bar. Going into that game, let's see, Galaxy were at 38 points and Sporting were at 29. So you were going in, you were 4 points out of a playoff berth going in. Galaxy draw Sporting Kansas City 2-2. But if you were Chicharito in that situation, would you go Panenka? I sure as hell would not. But obviously, a great move by Pulskamp to stay at home. And I hope, I don't know if he saw something where, it was an abbreviated run up, if he thought that it looked like that the follow through wasn't going to be there. Bravo to Pulskamp. Chicharito, I have no earthly idea what he was thinking. And, in that moment, you just smash it home. That for me, it is always smash it home. Find a spot, smash it home. Chicharito did not do that, and he cost his team 2 points, which would have put them at 41, which would have put them a point out of the playoff race instead of the 3, even though they do have 2 matches in hand on Portland and a match in hand on RSL. And, if you really want to be adventurous, it's, 1 match in hand with Minnesota. But you would have been 1 point out of the playoffs if you had just smashed it home. Chicharito thought that he should Panenka in that situation. That was not a like the guy, the old knight in the Indiana Jones movie when they go into the room with all the different chalices, and the first sip is taken of the one that's bejeweled, and the guard goes, he chose poorly. Yes, Chicharito chose poorly, absolutely. So that's, yeah. And so we'll keep an eye on those 2 points for LAG for the remainder of the season. Let's see. D. Graham, easy to blame Pineda, but what players has he had an impact in bringing in? Arguably Alonso, Cisneros, Godinho, Purata, and maybe Dwyer. And then I know that, Tom, you and I are going to have this discussion that we're going to be 180 degrees on. I know that you have maintained that you think that Pineda has to go. I don't, and I know that we will continue to discuss this. But I know that there are those that agree with you. There are those that agree with me, and I know that we will continue to have this conversation. I just disagree with you 100%, and we are diametrically opposed when it comes to Gonzalo Pineda. Bam. Question for the audience here in the Twitch pitch. Who realistically would you want as a coach for Atlanta, talking about coaches that would want to come to MLS? And that is a valid question. And that's, part of the discussion. It's like, and that's what I would like to do here when it comes to these ideas. Tom and anybody else that feels that Gonzalo Pineda needs to go. Like I said, I will disagree with that notion. Who would you bring in? And that's what I would like to do here, because I know that we've talked in the past. I know Nick's has been one looking at the roster and stuff like that. Who would you bring in? So if you want players to go, I would ask that until the season is over and we have those windows of free agency and waivers and things like that, if we could hold a conversation on that until after the season's over and those windows pass. But when it comes to anything like this, any kind of idea of replacing an individual, who would you bring in? And it can't be like Carlo Ancelotti, unless I've missed something. And Ancelotti has said that he wants to come in and be a head coach in Major League Soccer. Who would you bring in these situations? So when we have these discussions, who would you bring in, and be realistic about it in the process here? So that would be my only tenet when it comes to having this as a thought. Who would you bring in and why? And like I said, that's over here. But once again, if you're looking for folks, if you want to send folks out, I want to know who you want to bring in, and it's got to be realistic. So I mean, perfectly, we'll have these conversations, but I would ask that they kind of push the player element down the line until the season's over and we have a better idea as to what we're looking at, because you have to look at philosophy and you have to look at cap. It's something that it does not apply in other leagues when it comes to players. You've got to fit. You've got to have guys that come into your fit. You've got to have guys that fit into your cap. And those are the two biggest things here that are a part of this process: philosophy and cap. We can't necessarily say the same things about what's going on overseas because they don't have caps, and they can pretty much play it like it's a PS5 or whatever. They can play it like it's a Nintendo and bring in whoever they want with Football Manager. That's not the case here in Major League Soccer, and that's why I ask when we do these conversations, who would you bring in, knowing the limitations that Major League Soccer has? And I will be the first person to sit here and say that they should release the limitations, specifically on allocation money and the number of DPs you have. I think that if you want to invest, you should be able to invest. That's just me. And I know I'm not in the minority there. But once again, right now, philosophy and cap, those are two of the things that you have to look at in this whole process. So when we get into those ideas later on down the line, philosophy and cap, those are the two things that I ask when it comes to these conversations. Do all coaches have an impact on players coming in? That's a back and forth. Emilio, not Pineda out, not also thinking he's the one either. Rack, not sorry. I'm sorry I'm not just on this revolving coach bandwagon. And that's true because you're getting into the revolving coach bandwagon here. It's been a hard season. I'm not canning Pineda over this season, Rack. I am in the camp with you. D. Graham, MLS rules don't allow for a clean slate. Yes. Emilio, correct. Another window will help because this will be the first manager since Tata to have had two windows to work their philosophy when it comes to their players. And remember the quote that I gave you last week when Tata was in town, and he had the absolute faith in Gonzalo Pineda and the staff and what they're trying to build here. So, I think that I look at that quote and I hang that on the wall and sit there as something that I can reference, going forward. The Tata Martino believes in this staff with Atlanta United. Let's see. Bam, once again, having conversations with the Twitch pitch. I love that. The fact that you guys are having questions with another. Some contact didn't see it that way regarding Freeman. We don't get PKs because no one's ever in the box. VM choosing Cisneros over Joseph is and was a mistake. VM, remember that you've got to look at Joseph, and you're literally in concert with the physios. You're in contact with them consistently, and it's looking at like, okay, how many minutes can Joseph give me? Those kinds of things. You have to continually monitor his situation. And if he can start and give you 45, if he can start and give you 60, then that's where you would go. Does he fit going up against the opposition that you're going up against and how things are going to stack defensively? And then if for whatever reason through the analysis that you think that it's better for Ronaldo Cisneros to start, then that's when you're going to get Ronaldo Cisneros to start. And then Joseph comes in, and we've seen over the last handful of matches what Joseph can give you in those 30-minute bursts. The height is there, the jumping is there, and the goals are there too. So, right now, VM, it's just something that has to be monitored with Joseph coming off of, 2 knee surgeries, one that was to fix the issue and one that was to fix the fix of the issue. So It's just something that has to be constantly monitored. And then Sheaves and Rack are going by far. This was by far our worst season, and Pineda's hand is all over it. Got to go. Then, Tom, let me ask you, what would you call MLS's back in that season? So with DeBoer leading into Heinze, how would you phrase the DeBoer MLS's back versus this season? So that's my question for you there. Michael Head, every match is the same. SOS. Emilio, stop giving up the first goal. You're a little peeved about Lennon's comment. We can play for them. Kept waiting for the DJ. Tom kept waiting for the moment when they put up a 5 spot on somebody and it all clicked. It never happened. No, Emilio, you can't play for them, but you can be there with them. And don't undersell the value of an emotional lift, especially as you're chasing a playoff berth. I mean, think about it with your other teams and the other sports that you support. And, think of it that way. When they're chasing after playoff berths, you're urging them on as best you can, and it doesn't stop until you have that end note. And so that's why I said that, to be there with them for this, that emotional lift really can carry a whole lot of weight. And that's why I'm saying, if you're there on Saturday, and I hope everybody is, that the place is loud, the place is packed, and that the players can feel that. Because there'll be times in matches, 60th minute, 70th minute, where you're gassed. You're done, and it's like, you're wanting to wave that white towel, and it's like, man, I'm done. And then you'll get that push from the fans, and you'll hear that wave of support. If there's offensive rushes that happen, there's a big save, something happens that can create, an emotional transition, and the fans can be there with you. So, no, I think that, Emilio, I think that you can be there and be that 12th man, if you want to phrase it that way, like we see in Seattle, and they raise the flag and those kinds of things. This crowd, either at Bobby Dodd or Mercedes-Benz, has been a game changer. It has been one that has altered the state of games because of how the 17s have come in and turned that place into a cauldron of noise. And I know that's probably a Premier League reference, and that's probably something that I need to probably put $1 in the jar over. But U17s have made it an intimidating place to play. It has been a loud place to play. It has been gorgeous to hear what you guys have been able to do at times when it comes to urging Atlanta United on, and when they need that equalizer, or when they're pushing when their game is tied late and they're chasing after that game winner because they feel that momentum is there. The 17s are a part of that. It's been a part of that organic growth since the beginning. And I would posit, Emilio, that you can be just as impactful yelling your ass off. And I'm sorry that I used that word on a Monday morning, but if you yell your ass off and you're there for them from minute 1 to minute 90, sensing when they need that push the most, especially in these last 5 matches, especially in a match against Toronto, especially in a match against Philadelphia, and then especially on decision day against NYC. And hey, you guys want to travel to Orlando and you want to travel to Boston, go for it, because they're going to need it there too. The 17s have been there for Atlanta United. Right now, 5 points out with 5 to go. You've got to win on Saturday. And I know that this has been something that has been a returning thought of me the entire time. Got to win, got to win, got to win. Yes, I know. Because you don't want those margins to get as close as they are right now. You are still in a playoff chase. So on Saturday to start, then coming back the next Saturday against Philly, then being back for decision day on the other side of the international break, second week of October. Be there for your club. Be there as fans. Be there as supporters. Take your spray. Take your fisherman's friend. Take your throat coat. Be there with you. And if we had a show on the day after these matches, then I'm glad that we're typing instead of talking, because I would hope that everyone's voice is hurting, because you've pushed them and helped them in this regard in these final 5 matches. So, like I said, that's been my request for the show this morning going forward. No, the supporters can't play for the players, but you can play with them and be there with them to give them that extra push, Emilio. So that's my thought on where that's concerned. Emilio and back and forth. Tom, a divided, uncohesive team. It's awful. And so you're home because of Labor Day. Morning, OG. Good to see you. Once again, Tom, and going back and forth with Shiva, and Bam going forth with Emilio. Shiva, Felipe said something yesterday that stuck with me. I know we need to be there for the team and push them in the last stretch and support them, but we also need to show our disappointment and dissatisfaction with them. We're a dedicated fan base. We deserve better. This is awful. No, and that's why I like having the Twitch pitch the way that it is, Shiva. I mean, it's I want to know what you guys are feeling, and I want to know what you guys are thinking on a daily basis. I think that's important for me when it comes to news gathering, and I think it's important for all of us to have these conversations all week long. No, I think that it's just as vital to know what you're thinking, and I would rather know what you're thinking here instead of instead of not knowing, frankly. So I want to know what you're thinking on a daily basis, so that way we can have these we can have these back and forth discussions about it all, and we can have the Twitch pitch conversations that we've been having for the last handful of years, and we'll continue to have. No, so I mean, any team and any fan base where you have a high expectation, yeah, obviously you feel you deserve better. So no, that goes without saying. But no, I want to know what you're thinking on a daily basis. Whether you reach out to us on Twitter, whether you reach out to us on the Twitch pitch, whether you have conversations in the Discord where I'm banned from channels and I'm still trying to figure out how the Discord works. No, I want to have these conversations all the time. I want to know what you're thinking. So, absolutely nothing wrong with showing disappointment and dissatisfaction, and don't misunderstand. They're just as disappointed in themselves too. I mean, they would like for the season to have gone better to this point. No question. I know that they've only won one game on the road. They would have liked to have won a lot more on the road, no doubt. But, once again, they know, because they themselves are disappointed in what they haven't been able to accomplish either. And I think that's 3 negatives. So my mother is probably going to chase after me. So they know, but I would just as soon have these conversations here as well as, as we do on a daily basis. Let's see. Bam, if it was a full 11 of people he brought in and you were doing this bad, then he 100% needs to go. Soccer for Good OG. One thing you can give Pineda credit for is his courage to try things and make adjustments on the fly. Case in point, Caleb Wiley, even Tata would get stuck in ruts at times. And that's one of the other things that that you look at Gonzalo Pineda. He's not afraid to play the younger players, especially if they work out well during the practice week. And we've seen this. We've seen it with Caleb Wiley. We've seen it with Aiden McFadden coming in and being available on the right-hand side when Brooks Lennon was injured. Aiden McFadden stepped up from his time with Atlanta United too, showed absolutely no fear whatsoever in his activity on the right-hand side, showed you what we've seen for those of you who have seen Atlanta United 2 games, where you've seen McFadden with his hops, and he's been able to jump out of the gym and be there as an aerial threat, winning duels defensively or offensively. And you go back to the Pachuca match for the AmFam Cup. And if anybody has, and this is a total sidebar unrelated, if anybody knows where I can get an AmFam Cup scarf, let me know, because I have been searching for one forever. I was late in getting one on game day, and so I'm looking for an AmFam Cup scarf. Let me know if anybody knows where I can find one. But second half, we talk about the younger players. His back line on the right-hand side was Noah Cobb and Aiden McFadden, showing absolutely no fear in putting younger players out there. That's what we have seen from Gonzalo Pineda. You show me that you're grasping what we're trying to do here. You show me what we're trying to do on a match day. I'll put you in. It doesn't matter what your DOB is on your driver's license. I will put you into play. We've seen Caleb Wiley grow. We've seen Aiden McFadden solidify himself in the Atlanta United system. We saw Noah Cobb do well against Pachuca. So, yeah, the date of birth does not matter when it comes to Gonzalo Pineda. If someone is grasping what they're looking for, then I'm going to have you as a part of my game day 18, and you may even start. So yeah, you're right, OG. And you also, to that point about making adjustments on the fly, you also had a front office that was not static when it came to all of these injuries. Obviously, bringing in Rocco Rios Novo, who started 15 or 16, bringing in Godinho, bringing in Juanjo Purata, who has been great at the back, and so they're still trying to find those players that can help you out in these situations. And without, I would say that without the connections that Gonzalo Pineda has, you probably could not have gotten Purata or Godinho as a part of this roster, or you would have had to have looked in other places to try to get to them. So, no, you've had folks that have not quit. All these injuries, they could have said, "Woe is me," and then season goes down, and they'd be chasing after the wooden spoon. They haven't given up, and so you're seeing that they're still fighting, they're still grinding, they're getting healthier. And you're seeing Lennon back. You're seeing Gutman back. You're seeing how Gutman and Wiley can work down the left-hand side. Santi Sosa is turning into, he's redeveloping, I guess, for lack of a better word, into the individual that we had coming out of the blocks now that he's getting back to 100% healthy. So you're seeing all of these different elements working their way through. Let's see. Also, D. Graham, no on Paninkas ever. I'm right there with you. Power always is the solution. Good Soccer for Good OG just shut off the soccer after going down in flames in Oregon. Currently binging Alone. I only know the Heart song. It was Alone a series. Where is that? Where is that streaming? So, let me know what Alone is. Tom, look, I like Pineda, great guy, not a great manager, might be someday, but we handed over our supposed super club to a guy learning how to be a first-time manager. He's one of the top assistants in Major League Soccer. Ezra Hendrickson, the same. And we're seeing, once again, what assistants in Major League Soccer are, they're able to do. I know, Tom. No, I'm not, Tom. Hey, look, I know we agree to disagree. And so I know I'm right there that we're on opposite sides. We are on opposite sides of this. But like I said, I love having the discussions about it. You can go back to the discussions that were had with press conferences and TV segments, whether or not you like to bring in assistants and have them be head coaches because of all of the work they put in. There's a time where they're due. And a lot of folks in Major League Soccer thought that Gonzalo Pineda would have left Seattle a couple of years before he did, frankly, to get that first head coaching job. And it could have been in Liga MX. It could have been in Major League Soccer. But no. Yeah, Tom, you and I will definitely disagree where this is concerned. And, you were looking for someone who kind of shares the same philosophy of what you're trying to do with Atlanta United. And the front office saw in Gonzalo Pineda a top assistant in Major League Soccer. And I mean, if you were to, and I know the next time that we see each other, Tom, we're probably going to have to go off to a corner of wherever we are, and we're going to have a very spirited conversation. I know it, and I will enjoy it, and I know you will too. But if you took that theory of it's always got to be an established manager, then when would Brian Snitker have gotten his opportunity with the Atlanta Braves? Probably never. So until you have the opportunity posted to you and the trust of a front office to sit there and say, we like what this guy's bringing to the table, and we like what we think we see in him, then you're going to have that kind of a discussion. But no, Tom, I know you and I disagree. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And I know that we're going to have a spirited conversation. Let's see. Soccer for Good OG need to bring in a voodoo priestess to get rid of the hex. A shaman, a priest, lots of sage, maybe a live chicken, something like that. We'll work on that. If you keep him, you better be on a very short leash next season. Another season, anything like this next year might push me out. Didn't sign up for this. Shaman would fit under the cap. Might be an allocation money signing, but do you have a roster spot? That's the biggest thing when it comes to a shaman. Can't bring someone in until next year's summer window. How many seasons or windows did it take to turn over the 2018 roster? So let's look at the 2018 Atlanta United roster. see what we can come up with here. According to MLSsoccer.com, let's see. Miggy, Mikey, Barco, Bello, Carlton, Franco Escobar, Garza, LGP. It took a couple of years because you're seeing some guys here. Gressel, Gazan, Jose Hernandez. Mitch says no. Alec Can, Lorenowitz. You're talking a couple of years. So, just looking at, let's see, Big Red, Joseph, McCann, Nagby, Parkhurst, Rometty, Miles, Oliver Shannon, Brandon Vasquez, Vijalba, AWO, Gordon Wild, Romario Williams, and Sal Zizzo. John Gallagher and Patrick Okonkwo did not count against the 30-man active roster. So it took a couple of years. Let's see. D. Graham, if Joseph can only give 30 to 45, he needs to start, get us the lead, and rest. Emilio, in his opinion, Frank DeBoer in 2020 had a less talented team without Joseph. There was a pandemic to deal with. Pineda has had a better team even with injuries. Pineda deserves a little more leash, but damn if DB needed more time. Agreed. 2020 was a one-off. Lost Joseph after a half, then a pandemic. I throw that out. So then, this will definitely go into the conversation that you and I will have later on. MLS's back was an irrelevant tournament, according to Emilio. During a pandemic we knew nothing about, FDB had to deal with much worse. The fans don't hear me from row 41. But, Emilio, you might be in row 41, but then if there are others with you in row 41, it's like the shampoo commercial. And they told two friends, and they told two friends, and so on and so on and so on. You make noise, others around you make noise. Others around you make noise, and others around them make noise. So it's a transitive process. So make noise. Make noise, be heard, be seen, have fun. Timeout. Okay, sorry about that. Been going for almost 50 minutes without having a drink. 3 straight seasons of being nowhere close to a trophy, and it's a surprise. It's a surprise. No surprise the mood is dampened. D. Graham. Joseph's injury probably began in the CCL home match. Lack of sports science information played a role. We don't know that, but I was in Nashville when it happened at Nissan Stadium, so I will take Nashville in its own bubble and just say that I will take the information and say it happened there on that grass surface. I know nothing about sports science information playing a role in that. Bam, correct. And this has been my theme this morning. Win, lose, or draw, your club needs you. Exactly. That even might be a T-shirt. So Mile High 17s or Hunter or anybody, win, lose, or draw, your club needs you. Michael Head, we've been in a must-win for about a month now. Yes, that is true. I hope we do, but why now instead of a month ago? No, it has been a perpetual must-win. You want to take care of business as quickly as humanly possible. And it just so happens that you're still trying to take care of business. So it's been a perpetual must-win situation. That's been a part of the environment. I hate the way the Benz is now. It's not the same as 17 through 19. Results matter? Yeah, they do. Absolutely. They do. And no, results do matter. And I'm with you. It is obviously it is not the same as it was in 17 through 19. And yeah, results matter and winning cures and all those other sayings that are of that same ilk. No doubt about it. And there are those times, as Bam says, win, lose, or draw, your club needs you. And this is one of those where your club is trying to win to get into a playoff race. So, be a part of that effort. That's where I'm getting at this morning. Sagar for Good OG, also going to Orlando. And so, yeah, definitely. That's a good one. Just the Food Channel. Okay, so I'm just banned from the Food Channel on Discord. Thank you, OG. Yeah, and I do have a legit excuse because I order out most of the time. And then when I don't order out, I'm just as happy with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And I know that that's, kind of fourth grader-ish, but, there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm also the kind of guy that will dive into a jar of peanut butter with a knife and have that as a meal given the opportunity. So, my eating habits are probably still that of a college freshman, and those have not changed. But let's see. I'm going through conversations the OG's having with Emilio and Sheaves back and forth. Oh, Alive, History Channel, survival reality show. I'm not big on reality TV, just have never been. Shiva, so how long should Pineda have next year? that's obviously that's the $1 million question. You have to go by feel, and obviously, and by that I mean results at the same time. It's not. It is a results based business. But if you're looking at 100% healthy, obviously I want to know where Miles and Ozzie and Brad are as a part of this process. And then if Brad is not ready, then who is your starting keeper? If Miles is not ready, are you confident enough in what you've seen at the back line? Those may be your pickups in the offseason. With Ozzie right now, you have Santi Sosa working well at the 6. I think the original plan, obviously, was to have Ozzie be that enforcer late. And not having Ozzie as that enforcer late, you're having to rely on Santi Sosa playing 90 minutes and things like that. So who's your 6? Is it Santi? Great. Can Ozzie come in and give you 30? Can he give you 20? Can he give you, can he wrap it up for you and be your closer as your 6? With the injury to Sosa, he had to start. And so the script was flipped a little bit when it came to Ozzie Alonso. So that's what I'm looking at there with Ozzie, but you're also looking at Miles and Brad and figuring out where they are as well. And what do you go chasing in the offseason if you feel that you need to come up with those kinds of reinforcements? That's a part of it. But once again, that's once the season's over and you're getting closer to windows and summer windows and things like that. So you're looking at January window to try to figure out where guys are and what your health is. It's still good, but I'm just this is Emilio back and forth with the OG. Narrative that the crowd needs to do more is frustrating. Sometimes it's quiet, and sometimes it's you're there to help them. You're there to help them push and be support. Just saying, I don't think this team responds to the crowd portion. They have and they do. I will disagree with you there, Emilio. They have and they do. Alive is on the History Channel, so it's a survival reality show. Let's see. Brian Schmetzer. Schmetzer's a Seattle guy. He's going to stay there. Happen on grass. Get rid of all grass surfaces with Joseph. Prel shampoo. Need to get you on not on Vegemite. The OG still giggles when she recalls me referring to using the inside part of the stove and not seeing the house on fire. Well, that's what happens when you leave pizza boxes in the stove. That's what happens. And, you're trying to sit there and it's like, oh, we need to cook something and the pizza is still there. So there you go. Michael Head, how are we going to bring in additional players with no contracts expiring except Ambrose with the cap rules, etc.? That's where your GM, your capologist, and all of those things come into play. And so that is going to be the gymnastics of the season. So Schmetzer was an assistant, and now look where he is. Yes, exactly. Yeah, right there with you. And that's how I look at Pineda, as Schmetzer being the assistant to Siggy. Schmetzer comes in having learned under Siggy. Pineda having learned under Schmetzer, and now Pineda being on top. I'm right there with you, OG. It took me a second to get my modifiers in place. You're going to have to make some decisions. I mean, Michael, you're obviously going to have to make some decisions on some players. Who those are, I don't know. But once again, it's cap and philosophy. Atlanta needs to get a John Thorrington, just can't take him from us. Well, Bam, right now with what LAFC has not been able to do in their last 5, look, LAFC is going to be interesting because of what they're not doing. Thorrington continues to make these deals, and they are treading water right now at the top of the West. But the fact that they have that margin to play with, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the postseason in the West with LAFC. I'm waiting for a team to be physical with LAFC, knock them off their pins, frustrate them a little bit, and see what happens. Chiellini has only been able to give you 75 minutes most of the time. And then when there are times when he's been forced to go up against faster competition, faster offensive players, he turns into Karch Karai. So, my jury's still out for me on Chiellini. And where Bale is concerned, and you've mentioned it, Bam, the chemistry is not there. And you've got to come up with the right starting front 3. And, LAFC is going to be a bit of an adventure. And thank you for being our resident LAFC fan. It's a part of it as you're up on midnight on a Monday night. No, Emilio, they would not be happy if there wasn't some tweaking in the roster. But yeah, I said I just don't know what elements it would come from, but there are a lot of things in play when it comes to tweaking. Yes, Bouanga was great last night, especially with the pushing that he was able to do to create turnovers in short fields in the first 45. Unfortunately, no points on the board. You didn't get full points last night for LAFC. So LAFC's margin is 9. Actually, you did win. Okay, you did win. Get 2 in the second half. It was goalless at the break, and I fell asleep. That's on me. So you got 2 on the board. You got the win, and after you snapped the 3-game losing streak. So margin's back up to 9 with 5 matches to go, and then Austin has 5 to FC Dallas. So take care of business. You'll get the 1, but if Portland team that is as physical and as sound defensively as they are, gets past Austin, LA's going to get the first round bye. Austin, if it goes right now, it's Austin, Portland, which will be interesting. FC Dallas, RSL, which will be interesting. And then in Minnesota and Nashville, which will be bonkers. And then those winners go through. Lowest seed ends up going to LA. If it's Portland, yeah, that's going to be a tough one for you. The others, I'm kind of like, so let's see. Also on the board, Curtin, former assistant. There were people asking for his head when they changed GMs. Now look at him. I still don't like his approach, but you can't argue the results. True. Yeah, Jim Curtin might drive you crazy with what he does philosophically, as what we see at Philadelphia, but the results are there. And it's when you give these assistants the keys to the car, and you give them some time, and you let them have you give them the time to sit there and mold it into a way that is their way. So yeah, Schmetzer, Curtin, those are your 2 good examples. Thank you, OG, for that. Let's see. We're past the top of the hour, so I guess it means it's time to read a promo. The Lemonize for odor-free, clean, fresh air. One place you need to go. It's the Lemonize service. Proud sponsors of everything SDH. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Use the Lemonize service to realtors and property managers use the Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. Turnkey process makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers kind of the environment, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our other favorite masking agents that we have under the sink or in the cupboard, or when you open the door to the cupboard, you pull it out, you bring it out from underneath the sink, you spray it in the air. It's a masking agent. That's why they call it a masking agent. It masks the odors. It doesn't attack the issue all the way down to the molecule, as our friends at Lemonize do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing, one of 2 ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go. It's the website, lemonize.com. But do us a favor here. Add /Atlanta, or is it /Atlanta? I get confused. And then that way they know what part of the world you are attacking them from to ask for their assistance. So it's ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, lemonize.com/Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Lemonize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. QR code over my left shoulder. Break. Okay, Michael Head. Bam. Last 5 games, you play 3, 5, 14, 7, and 4. All but one needs to give everything against us for a playoff position. True. Michael Head. Hate the way that Philly plays. You're not alone. And I hope they win the Shield and the Cup. You outside of Philly, you might be alone. Curtin has a philosophy, one that I hate. They stick to it and get results. The refs let them play like thugs. So be it. Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. When it comes to Philadelphia drives you crazy. It is some of the most CONCACAF-y stuff, for a team that is as physical as they are, for them to be as soft as they are when it comes to offense and trying to draw fouls, it's ridiculous. But that's how they play. And until officials crack down on that stuff, you're going to Philadelphia every single time. I'll get to that in a sec, BM. Every single time Philadelphia plays, they are going to find where the edge is with the officials. They're going to go right up to that edge, understand where that edge is. You're going to have guys foul. Then when they get right to the edge on persistent infringement, then you're going to see other guys foul. It's going to be other guys fouling. And then when they get next to persistent infringement, then you're going to see other guys foul. It's beautiful trade-offs when it comes to fouling and knowing right where that edge is. Does it drive people crazy? Yes. Should it drive people crazy? Yes. But that is who Philadelphia is. That is their philosophy. That's in their DNA. That's who they are. And until you can probably pull the tape from Cincinnati because they're Philly light, and then you can pull the tape from the Dallas match and find out what the holes were there. They are going to drive people crazy until they are not allowed to. And it is some of the most, I'm not going to use the word unnerving, but, it is definitely a philosophy that will drive people crazy, because it's just not very appealing soccer. It's not very appealing soccer at all, but you're winning, and the officials aren't doing anything about you stylistically, and they're not enforcing persistent infringement and all these other things, the list that can happen. Sorry, Rich. But it's their philosophy. That's what they're doing. They're doing it very well. And they've only given up, 21 goals all season long with the defense that they have, with those sequoias that they have at the back. Yeah, 21 goals all season long. With what they have built and what they have structured, that's just who they are. And yeah, it drives people crazy, and it drives me crazy. And I know I'm not the only one, but that's who they are. That's who their DNA is. Okay, so VM, here's what's up. Thank you for the compliment. Jason is still fighting long COVID, and the priority for us here at SDH is Jason's health, and to make sure that he is as healthy as possible to do his duties for Atlanta United. That's why I've taken over the morning show for now. And, we'll just, the biggest thing is just to have the best vibes and feelings sent Jason's way all the time. But no, for the foreseeable future, it's us. And, we'll still have the guests coming in. Obviously, Dylan comes in on Wednesdays. We might end up doing the Thursdays with Nico live in the afternoons. That seemed to be pretty well received last week. But the biggest thing is to make sure that Jason is as healthy as possible to do his duties for Atlanta United. And that's first and foremost. There might be some taped stuff with Jason down the line, maybe for college season or high school or stuff like that. But right now, his priority is his health, as it should be. Fighting long COVID, and it is a beast and a half. And it's, I've had several friends who are going through long COVID, and it's a beast. So biggest priority for us here is Jason's health and well-being. And so that's why you've got me doing the morning show with Jarrett, and Jarrett's been great, and Dylan has been great, and everybody's been great about being guests and things like that. And you guys have been great as I've been trying to learn the board and try to figure out how to do things here and do that on a daily basis. And when the schedule gets a little wonky because of high school football, obviously I'll let you know. We might do power hours instead of other things, but instead of like full shows and things like that. But thank you for all of your faith that you guys have had, and the fact that you want to keep talking soccer on a daily basis at 9:05 and those kinds of things. But no, VM and BAM, thank you for saying that Jason's missed, because like I said, he's fighting long COVID. It sucks. And the biggest thing is that he's just got to be healthy, and healthy first and foremost for his Atlanta United duties. And so that's where things stand right now. But hopefully some tape stuff down the line. But right now it's all of us hanging out on a daily basis, talking the sport, and you putting up with me when I do when I do things. Let me see, when I do things like that. When I do things like that. For those that are just listening to the show, I just put up one of the banners that I always forget to hide in the morning. So yeah, when I do stuff like that, thanks for putting up with me when it comes to doing this kind of stuff. All right. And Badger, you're not wrong. That's a good way to phrase it. At this point, just consider this group therapy. It's, you're talking stuff. Oh, by the way, Badger, meant to tell you, couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine and the bosses was retiring from their job, and they are a fan of flamingos. Everybody was supposed to, for their goodbye party, they were supposed to wear pink, and they're a fan of flamingos. So the golf shirt or the bowling shirt that you so graciously, both Badgermons, uh, gave to me to add to my stacks. I wore my Forward Madison bowling shirt to this individual's retirement party, and it drew raves. It drew raves. So the Forward Madison bowling shirt, Badgermons, Family Badger, came out and did its job, and it was tremendous, and everybody loved it, and they wanted to know what the logo was on the back. And so I explained the whole Forward Madison thing to them and about the flamingos and all that kind of stuff. But yes, Family Badgermon, 1,000 thanks for the first and foremost for the Forward Madison bowling shirt first in the first place. But yes, got to use the Forward Madison bowling shirt at a retirement party, and it drew raves. So thank you. And by the way, you still have me plugged into the Diet Cheerwine, and that's over here behind this door. So when I need that stuff too. Yeah, Sharif, it feels like provoke and deceive for Philly. And it does. I mean, basically, they want to goad you into things, and then, you get caught. It's like the when you're, it's the unsportsmanlike conduct in football, the other football, where first guy takes a swipe and the officials they see only the second swipe, the second swing by the guy. So yeah, I mean, it is. And yeah, bam, they do. It is amazing stuff with Dairyland. I love the drip kits myself, but yeah, they're going to make me poor. And I'll mention another kit before we go, courtesy of our friends at Olive in New York. But yeah, provoke and deceive. And then it gets all CONCACAF-y pretty much in like the 55th minute if they've got a lead. And they'll sit there and they'll start resting and sitting down. And they get muscle problems, in quotation marks. Sorry, Rich. But no, that's their philosophy. And you tip your hat to them because it's working. And like I said, until somebody, yeah, you ain't kidding, Bam. Until someone takes the initiative to go with persistent infringement, be serious about it, and have ARs and VARs look for simulation, then Philadelphia is going to continue to do what they do. And until they go up against a team, say like Red Bulls, that feels the same way they do about possession, they will get frustrated. And that is going to be a key for me. When Philly plays Red Bulls, it's both teams feel the ball has cooties. And so it's up and over. And, nope, I don't want it. You take it. No, I don't want it. You take it. And then you're going to get 90 minutes of that. And then you get into, extra time and PKs. And so I think that's where that'll be headed. So keep an eye out for Red Bulls or Montreal and Philadelphia come semifinals or final. I think that's going to be your intriguing matchup out of the East. OG, overall, MLS as a league is very compelling. After Atlanta United's success, other clubs figured us out and now beat us. Now the pressing anti-soccer teams are finding success, but they'll ultimately be figured out. And a new style will reign supreme. Parity is a double-edged sword. True. So we'll see what happens with Philly. Okay. Before we go, let's get you prepared for the rest of the day. And once again, thanks to everybody for the spirited conversations as always here on I guess Group Therapy Monday, or what do we call it? Is it? Group Therapy Monday, almost. So yeah, Group Therapy Monday. Thanks for everybody for hanging out. Here's your viewing for today. Before we get into the other matches and the juice boxes, and we'll talk about what happened overseas a little bit. Labor Day schedule, plenty of action. La Liga's got the Turkish Super League at 2. Fox Deportes, Liga MX Femenil, very late at 10. Goal TV, which you can get on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here for those of you that want to join. Portuguese Primera at 2, Ecuadorian Primera at 8. College soccer on ACC Extra B1G and on ESPN+. Championships on at 3 o'clock, Middlesbrough and Sunderland. La Liga Santander at 3, Valladolid and Almeria. A lot of college soccer on the plus. USL Championship, Los Dos and Hartford's on at 10:30. Paramount Plus, Argentine Primera, doubleheader at 6. Defensa y Justicia, San Lorenzo, Godoy Cruz, and Arsenal. Atletico Tucumán and Bonfield is on at 8:30. Brasileiro's on at 7 with Santos and Golas. And you've got 3 matches in Serie A on Paramount Plus, 2 at 12:30. Monza, Atalanta, Salernitana, Empoli, Torino and Lecce is at 2:45. So let's get into juice boxes for today and go through the rest of the viewing and everything else that's going on before we go overseas and wrap things up for the day. Right now, you've got stuff going on in the Middle East. You have stuff in Eastern Europe. You have Baltics going on. Once again, Scandinavia working its way through the noon hour. Your Serie A juice boxes, Atalanta's a minus 139 on the road. Salernitana's a plus 131 at home. Those are your leaders in the clubhouse there. Oh, and I don't know if you saw it, but sad news about Pity Martinez. It looks like he has a heart problem, and it looks like his contract might be terminated from Al Ahly. So we'll keep an eye on Pity and hope that he is just recovers and is focusing on his health as well. So disappointing news, very sad news about Pity Martinez that happened this weekend. Costa Rica Primera is at 1 o'clock. You've got more stuff in Eastern Europe. You've got Europe. You have Belgium, Saudi Arabia. CPL has a 2 o'clock game today because of the bank holiday. Cavalry is a plus 110 on the road in Halifax against the Wanderers. Also, Galatasaray minus 167 at home in the Turkish Super League at 2 o'clock. A lot of action in Argentina. Serie C is going on. FA Cup is going on in these small divisions. Torino at home is a minus 135 at 2:45. Middlesbrough is a minus 115 at 3 o'clock. Valladolid is a plus 127 at home at 3 o'clock. Let's see, going into Bolivia, just because I like to talk about Jorge Wilstermann. They're a minus 204 tonight with their home match. Santos at home and Serie A in Brazil at 7 is a minus 156. MLS Next Pro has Sporting Kansas City 2 and Rapids 2, and San Jose and the Whitecaps 2. Whitecaps 2 are a plus 118 on the road. Liga MX Femenil, Monterrey's a minus 400 hosting Toluca. Los Dos are even money hosting Hartford Athletic at a plus 204. Let's go through the papers really quickly and with what's going on in England. The Athletic, Hull City could face disciplinary action from the Football Association over allegations Sheffield United defender Kai Gordon was racially abused by a home fan when warming up on the touchline. England manager Gareth Southgate was in attendance at the Dacia Arena for the Serie A clash between Udinese and Roma to watch Chris Smalling and Tammy Abraham. From The Guardian, Ange Postecoglou says his Celtic side will not sit back when they host Real Madrid. Red Bull's Drew Yearwood was shown a red card after hurting a fan with a kick into the stands. That was pretty bad. Drew has gone on to his social media and apologized over and over again, but it was something that was completely and totally stupid and uncalled for what he did. He was frustrated, kicked the ball in the stands at 90 miles an hour, and hit somebody with it. You don't do that. So Drew Yearwood was shown a red. He's been apologetic on his social media, but it's something you shouldn't have done, and it was dumb. Goalkeeper Connor Maseko sent off for, this is probably toward the end of the show. Don't know if you heard about this, and I don't know if any video exists either. Goalkeeper Connor Maseko was sent off for urinating in a hedge during an English FA Cup first-round qualifying match on Saturday, and I think they're going to have their next go-round in a couple of days. Daily Express, Bayern are keeping a close eye on Harry Kane's contractual situation at Tottenham, according to reports in Germany, with a potential offer coming next summer. Chelsea's going to take another look at AC Milan forward Rafael Leao in January, but the Serie A club are insisting on his £130 million release clause being met before they do business. Daily Mirror, Arsenal reportedly had a £26 million offer for former Manchester forward Ferran Torres rejected in the closing days of the summer transfer window. Telegraph, Newcastle will lodge an official VAR complaint as the Premier League continues to demand answers after a controversial weekend. Yes, it was. Daily Star, former Burnley striker Wout Weghorst was drop-kicked by a pitch invader during an argument between players from his new side Besiktas and their Sunday opponent Ankara Guccu. Besiktas ran out 3-2 winners with Dele Alli among the goal scorers. Also from the Times, Blackfield and Langley joint manager Connor McCarthy defended his goalkeeper, who was sent off. So you've got Blackfield and Langley and Shepton Mallet. And so it was during Saturday's FA Cup first. So he defended his keeper. Okay. Don't know what the grounds were for defending your keeper for urinating in a bush while searching for a lost football. Daily Record impressed Daily Blind has heaped praise on Rangers for providing Ajax with a ready-made star in Calvin Bassey. And David Turnbull's targeted the Celtic history books against Real Madrid has issued out a play our own football pledge. So that's the look at the papers with everything going on in England. And the stuff with VAR, that was pretty wild. VAR had a really bad weekend, and you had David Moyes, who was basically shooed away from the officials after the West Ham match as well. And so it was a long weekend for VAR. So we'll see what happens with the PGMOL and what their responses are for anything and everything. So let's see what else is going on in the world. Yeah, Anthony made an instant impact. He'd been on, I think, for maybe 10 minutes before he scored for Manchester United on the weekend. Diego Costa set for a medical with Wolves as they try to replace Sead Kaladzic. And looks like looking at other things this morning, Reece James has signed a new 5-year contract with Chelsea to keep him at Stamford Bridge until 2027. So big news for Chelsea fans there. Also, Brighton are reportedly prepared to negotiate with Liverpool in January over the transfer of Moises Caicedo. Sound familiar? Reporting Terra Deportes. The outlet said Liverpool failed with a late bid in the window to sign Caicedo before bringing in Arthur Melo on loan from Juve. So, Moises Caicedo. Thought of it Liverpool from Brighton. There you go. Also, so Diego Costa is undergoing the medical tomorrow since Kaladzic is going to see a knee specialist after suffering an ACL injury on the weekend. Costa is a free agent, and so Bruno Lage's side can complete the deal with him outside the transfer window. So we'll keep an eye on that. Leicester lost again. Sorry, Knicks. And it's going to be a really difficult campaign. I'll look at sack list here in a second, see what the list is for managers or sack race, and we'll see what happens there. Ross Barkley was presented to fans joining Nice as a free agent. So that's there for them. Burton manager Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank has resigned after their rough start. Let's see. Juve are set to reignite their interest in Roberto Firmino, according to journalist Ekrem Konur. Firmino's contract has less than 12 months to run. As it stands, he'd be able to agree to move to a foreign club as a free agent next season from January 1st. Let's see. Crystal Palace readying a bid for Conor Gallagher in January. Arsenal's bid, we talked about that with Ferran Torres. Leicester set to reveal estimated losses of £119.5 million, the highest in the Premier League after signing just one player this summer and selling Wesley Fofana to Chelsea for $70 million. So, Nick's, that kind of adds to all of the stuff that we knew about Leicester here. Brendan Rodgers said his side is a jigsaw with pieces missing, but vowed to fight after the 5-2 loss to Brighton. That was pretty ugly. Injury-prone Phil Jones has been kicked out of Manchester United's training ground dressing room to make space for Erik ten Hag's new signings. We'll keep an eye on that. But let's see, really quickly, going back into the Twitch pitch here. Newest football shirt for BAM, Orlando Pirates, top from South Africa. That's a solid play. I got my partner's brother-in-law to bring it when he moved here from South Africa. What should be the new show name? I'm guessing Group Therapy. Some days it wouldn't be bad. If anyone here watched the Copa 90 video about Freiburg, if you haven't, go watch it. So that's programming thought from BAM, and Leicester's going to be the new Blackburn. And it's going to be pretty bad. It's pretty bad right now with Leicester. So when Nix comes back in, and we can talk to Jason about it. And Family Badger, thank you for signing back once again as subscribers via Prime. I think that's going to be a show for us this morning. Once again, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of it with Atlanta United. Thanks to everybody who is hanging out with us here. And Nick Alifi will have hot drops when he can break away from the real world. We'll do this again tomorrow. We'll catch you up around everything else that was going around MLS and the world and get you ready for Tuesdays. Let's see. Wednesday should be Dylan Butler, normal. Thursday, once again, Thursday will be a power hour or a shorter show because of the high school football stuff that I've got to do tapings-wise in a studio. And then normal on Friday as well. We'll try to do Nico Moreno's now live on Thursday afternoon. So your Thursday late afternoon plans will include Thursdays with Nico on his third cup of coffee. Family Badger, thank you as always. And thank you to everybody there who has been listening here on a Monday, which is a holiday. So stay dry, stay safe. If you know anybody that is in the crosshairs of Mother Nature, look out for them, look out for each other. And we will do it again tomorrow. So now that it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this.